Good day to you, and welcome to day 6 of World Cup Daily, the show where we go over all the stuff and the things and the happenings and the whatnots from this day in World Cup action. Hey, I'm Adrian, the host guy from Rabona TV and a former World Cup champion. I've since retired. Momentarily, I could come out of retirement anytime, so that now I can focus on some Group H action. Finally, after what's felt like an eternity, we get to look at the very balanced group that is Group H. The first two combatants were Japan and Colombia, and going into this match, an Asian team hadn't beaten a South American team in 17 attempts. Well, Japan were given quite the lifeline when in the 3rd minute, after a messy bit of defending from Colombia, Yuya Osoka's shot was saved by Ospina, but the rebound fell to Kagawa, who looked as if he was going to score. But Carlos Sanches channeled his inner Luis Suarez and saved Kagawa's strike. Not the same as Suarez's handball, by the way. And I kind of feel bad for Sanches because it wasn't as much blatant cheating as it was when Suarez did it against Ghana, but he had to be sent off as it was denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, even if it was a reaction without even thinking, probably. It's unfortunate, but he had to get the red card. But still, in getting sent off in the 3rd minute, no matter if your keeper saved a penalty or not, you are condemning your teammates to a long, tough 90 minutes. Just concede and go at them with 11 men. That is, of course, assuming that it was intentional and not an automatic reaction. Anyway, Sanches became the first player to receive a red card in this World Cup, and the first Colombian to receive a red card in a World Cup tournament. Surprising. Shinji Kagawa stepped up and made no mistake with the penalty to give Japan an early lead. The 9th penalty of this tournament, and the 7th that was successfully converted. The only 2 misses coming from Messi and Peru's Cueva. Japan really impressed me in this match, and they did well to control it and looked dangerous throughout. But in the 32nd minute, a fairly innocuous free kick from Juan Quintero found its way under the wall and just squeezed past Japanese keeper Eiji Kawashima, who, by the way, became the oldest Japanese player to make an appearance at a World Cup. The foul leading up to the free kick was weak as hell, but hey, it didn't matter in the end. From there, however, Japan largely dominated the opportunities, as you would expect, but it wasn't until the 73rd minute that man of the match Yuya Osako leapt higher than the rest from a corner and his header banged in off of the post. My question is though, what the f was Ospina doing? That's classic Ospina, man. By the way, the delivery on that goal came from Keisuke Honda, who has been involved in 6 of Japan's last 8 goals in the World Cup, with 3 goals and 3 assists. And said goal was enough to lift Japan over Colombia in what was a historic win, as Japan became the first Asian team to ever defeat a South American opponent at a World Cup after 18 attempts. A couple hours later, Senegal and Poland made their 2018 World Cup debuts, and the first half was a little bit lacking in interesting moments. Poland rarely provided any attacking moments that their fans could get excited about, as their build-up play was much more slow than I thought it would be. And as I said in the preview to the World Cup, I think that the reliance on Lewandowski showed itself in the first half, as when Lewandowski has a quiet half, you don't see many other threats in the Polish attack. Senegal, on the other hand, looked a little more dangerous as they played on the counter. However, Sadio Mane had a quiet half as well, as much of Senegal's attacking threat came by way of Niang and Mame Diouf. However, Senegal's breakthrough goal came by way of a total mishit that deflected off of Thiago Sionek, good Polish name that, Thiago, and rolled past a stranded Szczesny. Unlucky. In the second half, Robert Lewandowski started to take the match to the Senegalese defenders a little bit more, and he came close to grabbing an equalizer from a 20-yard free kick, but it was saved. Then the most bizarre goal I have ever seen occurred. Here's what happened. In the play prior, Niang went down injured and had to receive treatment. He went down injured. So, as we all know, when you get treatment, you have to go off and get waved back into play by the referee. Poland continued the match, passed it around, lost it to Senegal, recovered it, Niang was waved back onto the pitch, and entered the pitch at the center line. Krychowiak didn't know that Niang was back on the pitch around the center line and played an absolutely terrible back pass to Szczesny, which Niang latched onto, touched past Szczesny, and finished pretty much unchallenged on the empty goal. At first it was seen as a controversial one, but mostly it was just a lack of awareness by Krychowiak to make a terrible back pass without looking to see where the Senegalese attackers were. Again, another unfortunate goal for Poland to concede, but the referee let Niang back onto the pitch once Poland had possession, and it was a Polish player who lacked awareness. Had he let Niang onto the pitch when Senegal had just recovered possession and they played him through for a breakaway like it was a player coming out of the penalty box in hockey, that would be completely wrong of the referee. But it was a Polish player that played Niang through. Poland did find a breakthrough to make it 2-1 when Krychowiak headed home a quickly taken free kick. He became the first Polish player to score in a World Cup since Bartosz Bosacki in 2006. But 2-1 is how it ended, so while Poland were unfortunate in this one with the own goal and the weird goal, which I maintain was their own fault / Krychowiak's fault, they still weren't really good enough. Senegal's defense deserves major plaudits as they limited Poland to opportunities that were really easy for their keeper Ndiaye to gather. Beyond that, Senegal became the first African team to win a match at the 2018 World Cup, and with that win, the group shapes up like this. Japan and Senegal are at the top tied for first, with Colombia and Poland at the bottom of the group. A bit of an inversion of how many thought that this group would go. But again, we're just one match in here, everyone. Hey, I'm Adrian from the future from post Egypt versus Russia. And also, it's worth noting that every single South American team besides Uruguay has failed to get a win in their first match of this World Cup. Not a strong start for South American countries. And so concluded the first round of matches from each group, and we've seen every single team now. In fact, this was the first World Cup since 2002 that we didn't have to endure a single 0-0 scoreline in the first round of matches. To me, it's been the most entertaining World Cup of recent memory, that's for sure. So it was back to Group A to see the hosts Russia take on Egypt. A side that this time they have Mo Salah in their starting 11. And the Egyptians were feeling up to it pre-match.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
And Salah found once again that it's much harder to perform without your two buddies Firmino and Mane around to take some of the heat off of you, as the Russians gave him very little room to breathe, constantly making sure there was always a man on him. Also, I found that Salah was a bit wasteful with some of his passes, as it seemed that he was making them without even looking to see where his supporting cast were, in the early stages at least. Perhaps he thought he was still playing clot ball and he could pass without even looking, knowing where his teammates would be. But anyways, both teams in this one sort of canceled each other out, at least in the first half, as Russia went with Artem Dzyuba as their starting striker to provide some aerial threat, but the Egyptian backline was extremely well organized. Same goes with the Russian backline, as Salah and Trezeguet were perhaps the most dangerous attackers, but even so, were limited to pot shots from around or just outside of the box. At the end of the first half, there really wasn't much to talk about. In the second half, the World Cup of own goals continued, as this tournament is looking to shatter all of the records, even the own goals records. From a mishit shot, Egypt captain Ahmed Fatih attempted to get in front of Dzyuba to clear the ball, stumbled in doing so, and he himself mishit the ball into his own goal. That was the 5th own goal of the tournament so far, while the record for own goals in a single World Cup tournament is 6. From 1998. Just over 10 minutes later, in the 58th minute, a well-worked Russian goal thanks to a cutback from Mario Fernandes. Now that is a great Russian name. Found the guy in form, Denis Cheryshev, and he slotted it past El Shenawi. His 3rd goal in just 2 matches. Not bad, Denis. Hold your hats though, because just 3 minutes later, Artem Dzyuba chested down a free kick, touched it around the sprawling Egyptian defender, and picked out the bottom corner. That was Dzyuba's 2nd of the tournament. Another 5-0 incoming. Well, even at 3-0 in this match, they have already scored more goals than their last 2 World Cups combined, as they scored just 6 across the 2002 and 2014 World Cup tournaments. Also, they officially have the best start of a host nation with 8 goals scored and just 1 conceded. Then Egypt started to really go for it, and for their efforts were awarded a penalty when Mo Salah was brought down in the box. It was initially given as a free kick, but VAR corrected that decision. Thanks, Mr. VAR. And Egypt will be thanking Mo Salah for giving them a glimmer of hope, as he scored his first World Cup goal in his first match, and became just the 3rd Egyptian to score in a World Cup tournament, behind Abdelrahman Fazi and Magdi Abed El Ghani. 10 penalties now, 8 of which have been converted, but it wasn't enough, as Egypt fell 3-1 and were subsequently all but eliminated, while the Russians have all but made it to the round of 16. The standings are as you were, by the way. I'll bring them up tomorrow once Uruguay and Saudi Arabia have played. Speaking of which, tomorrow sees Group A conclude their 2nd round with Uruguay going up against Saudi Arabia. And after watching what Russia did to the Saudi Arabia backline, the Uruguayan attack must be salivating right now. in preparations for this one. Yikes, salivating Suarez is a scary thought because you'd never know what he may do. I honestly can't see any way that Saudi Arabia gets anything from this one, unfortunately, and that's not being disrespectful, it's just being realistic given what they showed in the first round. But it is the World Cup, and surprises can always happen. And in Group B, Portugal takes on Morocco. Now, Portugal looked not as good as I thought they would have against Spain, and were a bit fortunate to get bailed out by Ronaldo. But for me, Spain have had the best performance yet of this World Cup, and for Portugal to get a result out of that match, I don't know. Maybe I don't need to worry as much when they go up against Morocco? Because Morocco is hard to judge also. They had such a strong qualification campaign in which they didn't concede a single goal, and they looked to be on their way to yet another clean sheet against Iran, before a last-minute own goal condemned them to a loss. I don't see this one as being a goal fest, really. I think it's going to be close, whatever the scoreline is. I don't know. I don't want to say. Superstitions, man. And the other match in Group B will be Spain versus Iran, and I fear for Iran a little bit. They did well to keep Morocco off of the score sheet, but you don't need me to tell you that Spain are a completely different animal. Iran did counter well at times against Morocco and will definitely be hoping to do the same against Spain, as they don't really have the quality going forward to sustain a consistent attack. Spain, on the other hand, I mean, there's not much to say about them. They were terrifying in the attack, pretty solid defensively, easily have the best midfield of this tournament, and I expect them to bang in a few against Iran. Okay guys, that's all from me live from Russia. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then hit that subscribe button or the like button, or both if you're feeling extra happy today. I'm Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and we'll see you tomorrow.